At the beginning of the call, we alluded to a very specific idea, but now I'm just going to give you a basic formula. You have a child that has a traumatic experience, right? Because they're in a precognitive state of function, they then choose a strategy to deal with that environment. What are they dealing with? They're dealing with, how am I going to avoid moving forward this punish, this rejection, this humiliation, and this violence? Once the child employs that strategy and they have success with it, it becomes their winning strategy for life. I want you to get that. Once a child employs a strategy to avoid punishment, rejection, humiliation, violence, discomfort, and pain, and they have success with it, it becomes their winning strategy for life. Now, as this child again employs the same strategy again and again and again and again, they get further away from their authentic self. And the only way that you can have pain in your body, pain in your mind, pain in your emotions, pain in your energy. Pain in your energy simply means you being without energy and being exhausted, okay? Or you're unethical, immoral, or unprincipled. The only way you can get to that position is how? Is by being inauthentic. Because when your nervous system recognizes your winning strategy as yourself, now you're screwed. You're really screwed, because now your mind and your kidneys, they're becoming more split, right? You're over adapting and you're over adjusting constantly to avoid punishment, rejection, humiliation, discomfort, pain, and death. As you employ this strategy hundreds of thousands of times, you start to build a massive amount of unresolved stress, which turns into a minute amount of physical tension. Do that decade after decade after decade, and now you have a 35-year-old woman who shows up to your father's office who has migraine headaches for the last 16 years. And there's no pill that she can take to deal with this, because the body is attempting to go, hey, Jane, listen, we want you to look away from the symptom, and we want you to ask yourself a basic question. What's the real problem here? Why is this happening to me? Because when you ask the why, you now have a chance to investigate how you got to where you are. Without the why, you're only going to continue to attempt to manage through negative stress management tools. What are negative stress management tools? Alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, dishonesty, food colorings, preservatives, refined white and brown sugar, recreational drugs, and pharmaceutical drugs. And so you've got negative stress management tools that you're now addicted to. Why are you addicted to them? Because they allow you to numb out from the fact that you're no longer authentically being you, and that your survival strategy has completely taken over your body, your brain, and your nervous system. And it's screaming out for help. Your stiff back is your authentic, true self screaming out to your inauthentic, fragmented, negatively conditioned self for help. So if you've got a headache, it's because you're inauthentic. If you got a backache, it's because you're inauthentic. If you've got poor sleep patterns, it's because you're inauthentic. And these levels of inauthenticity were passed off to you by your mom and your dad. So any level of pain, discomfort, distortion, and tension and stress that's unresolved always leads back to your survival strategy. But why would I be employing a survival-based strategy? Because we're just now coming out of the dark ages. Okay? 500 years ago, would a woman ever walk to a market on her own? No, because if she did, she could be kidnapped, raped, or killed. Okay? No woman was like, oh, hey, honey, I'm going to walk 1.5 miles to the market. The husband was like, no, you're not. Okay? Going to go by yourself. Son, get my sword. All right. Put it, put it in the back of the cart. And, you had to be in a hyper vigilant state at all times because guess what? Your choices meant death when you made bad, poor choices. Okay. So we were talking about evolution earlier, we're now evolving out of survival based strategy. We can start to look at them. That's why in society, you now hear things like mental illness. Humanity has been mentally ill for thousands and thousands of years. Okay. And now we're like, oh, I feel mentally ill. No, 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 no. Your whole family has been mentally ill for a long time. You come from you have a string of alcoholics going all the way back to Ireland. Okay. You have a string of alcoholics going all the way back to Germany, right? You have a, a string of stress that if you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 generations, you're going to be able to see how that history led to your chronic discomfort, pain, and challenge. It's historical. We're now finally in a place because of technology and guys like you and guys like me and guys like your dad and women like us that are out in the world researching, investigating, and creating other opportunities for other humans to learn that they don't have to live with the discomfort, the pain, and the distortion that they're living with on a daily basis, and that there's an opportunity for freedom. These freedoms were never offered to our ancestors. They had to suck it up and move on, and suck it up and move on because if you were a trailblazer like your dad is 100 years ago, guess what? You could be burned at the stake. Okay. Right. If you took a holistic mindset and you went up against certain establishments, that could cost not only you your life, but your family's life. So we've been locked into these survival based strategies, and we finally now can take a look at the cost of staying plugged into the stress matrix and refusing to create opportunities for choices that allow us to raise our energy level to such heights that we realize we're here to serve and to love ourselves first and those we care about second. And when I can be in a position of serving myself, I then can serve my family. And then out of serving my family, I can now serve my community. And then out of my community, I can now I can service my culture. And then I reach out and I go, wow, we're in a position, we have this internet. I can now be of service to the globe. And so my story has been one of trial and tribulation, challenge with pain, and transforming that pain into neutrality so that I can experience pleasure and teach others to do so, so they no longer have to be stuck in survival based strategies and they can thrive at taking risks to figure out who they are in relationship to money, who they are in relationship to sex, who they are in relationship to religion, who they are in relationship to profession, who they are in relationship to education. Before, these weren't choices. You simply were mimicking the stress patterns, the distortion patterns from the generations before. So now we're lucky to have enough freedom to be able to film what you're filming and deliver it to other people who are thriving and thirsty to feel good at an emotional level, to feel good at a physical level, to feel good at a family level, to feel good in their relationship, to be successful financially, to be successful at simply being open-minded, grounded, vulnerable, peaceful, happy, joyful, and at peace with a grounded, quiet mind and grounded emotions and a flexible, strong, comfortable body and an effervescent spirit. We now can have that. Every human on the planet can now have that. That was not possible before. It's now possible. And I came here to make sure that there's a pathway that others can follow.
when you look at things from that macroscopic view you just discussed, we're living in beautiful times in many ways.
Beautiful time.
When you look in the micro, you could say, "Oh my God, we're on the brink of World War III, the pandemic, this and that," and you could be you're in the stress matrix, and
Yes.
you say it's the worst of times.
Yes.
But if you just take a step back, and I know people don't do this because we live in such micro 15-second everything now terms and such short attention spans, but really take a step back, as you just said. Not even 100 years ago, what would you have? How much freedom did you really have? How many opportunities did you have then? Now, 500, a completely different story. Like you said, you better be carrying that sword. If you made it at 30, man, are you old, right? And you had no opportunity to move up and down really that much. So I think people need to realize that also. We all deal with our stress. We're in this matrix, but it is truly a beautiful time. We have so much, and we have the opportunity to connect with each other like this, even, which we didn't very long ago. So it
And we
really
have
is.
solutions.
Yeah.